Let's see, what book of the Bible we're studying? Are there any other books of the Bible? We're about to shake it. That's this week and next week. And Jeremiah and all Jeremiah's woes will be behind us. All right. Y'all have all heard this joke. So you go to the doctor and you tell the doctor it hurts when I touch my shoulder. What's the second phrase?
Don't touch it.
That's right. Don't touch it. That'd be $60. No, I don't know how he's getting away with $60, but I guess that's pretty good. Yeah, it's a lot more than that now. Yeah, it's for sure. It started out with comedian Henny Youngman. He's the first one who posed the joke. You know, it hurts when I do this, then don't do that. And it's been done in a number of different ways. You know, it hurts when I wake up in the morning. Well, then wake up in the afternoon instead of the morning. If it hurts, don't do it again. Why do some people find such a hard time taking advice? I know that was humorous advice there, but you know, in real, why do people have such a hard time taking advice?
They know.
Pardon?
They think they know.
They think they know.
Yes, they have a high tolerance for pain.
A high tolerance for pain.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful the way they always done it.
Yeah, it's we're gonna get to that one. You know,
They're giving advice.
they like the giving advice, but not the taking advice, right? Some of us just don't like to go to the doctor. You know, think maybe it'll go away, right? Oh, okay. No, I won't ask for a show of hands, but are there hypochondriacs in the room? No. Are there people that just like being miserable sometimes? Are there people that like being sick? Are there some of us that like getting attention, and so we like having problems? Are there some of us who'd rather blame the problem on somebody else instead of accepting that responsibility? Are there some of us that are just plain stubborn? Can I get a show of hands on that one? Both Mike and Cindy raised their hands. I don't know what you'll do with each other then.
But in spite of that, God placed a medical center here at our doorstep to take care of us.
In spite of all that. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Judah's situation, all of the above, I think, apply. So here we are, we're in chapter 43. Destruction of Jerusalem is complete. Provincial governor that was appointed by the king, he's been assassinated. The assassin's been routed. Johanan, other army officers, they've assumed command, and the remnant, they've decided it's best for us to head to Egypt, despite stopping on the way near Bethlehem to ask God's advice and then saying, no, we really didn't want that advice. We think we know better on our own. Couldn't take the advice. So they head toward Egypt. And Jeremiah, back in 42, he gave them these words as they were asking for that advice. And notice, if you will, as I read this, how many times Jeremiah says, or God says through Jeremiah, if then, right? Jeremiah called together Johanan, son of Kareah, all the army officers who were with him, all the people from the least to the greatest. He said to them, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, to whom you sent me to present your petition, says. If you stay in this land, I will build you up and not tear you down. I will plant you and not uproot you, for I have relented concerning the disaster I have inflicted on you. However, if you say, we will not stay in this land and so disobey you, God, and if you say, no, we will go and live in Egypt where we will not see war or hear the trumpet or be hungry for bread, then hear the word of the Lord. If you're determined to go to Egypt and you do and settle there, then the sword you fear will overtake you there, and famine you dread will follow you into Egypt, and there you will die. If it hurts, don't do it again. Right? If you stay in the land, I'm gonna prosper you. I'm gonna build you up. You know, I'm not gonna uproot you. I'll plant you. I'll relent concerning this action. If you stay in the land. If you say, well, you're not going to stay in the land. If you so disobey God, and if you say, no, we're going to go to Egypt and live in Egypt, well, you're going to hear about war, and you're going to hear trumpets, and you're going to be hungry for bread. If you're still determined to go, notice how Jeremiah just keeps repeating himself. It's not Jeremiah's fault. It's not Jeremiah's problem. It's the people. If it hurts, don't do it again. So we have a situation where Johanan leads the people out of Jerusalem, out of Bethlehem, where they've stopped pause here. And we find that they settle in 3 different places in Egypt. Migdol, Tapanhes, down here in Memphis, and then down here at Yeb or Elmatine, and that's sort of a Jewish military colony, and a Jewish temple is there. Now, I think it's real interesting where they decide to settle. Now, the group that's got Jeremiah with them, Jeremiah and Baruch, he took them along. Now, wait, why would you take Jeremiah and Baruch along with you? Haven't they been problems enough already? Why not just leave them in Jerusalem to deal with themselves? Why do you take them along?
Good luck, John.
Good luck, John. Yeah. I think that you just exactly hit it. Just like the Ark of the Covenant, when Eli's sons took the Ark of the Covenant along, just like in near the first of Jeremiah, we talked about the temple being sort of their good luck. God won't do anything to us because the temple's here in Jerusalem. We've got the temple. It doesn't matter that we're desecrating the temple. Doesn't matter that we're worshiping other idols right on the outside of it. Doesn't matter of all this. Doesn't matter that we're worshiping. We even get one name here a little bit later, an idol. Doesn't matter about that. We've got it. And so I know we don't like Jeremiah, and we're so sick of hearing Jeremiah talk about this negative stuff. Zedekiah even asked him one time, why would you say such stuff? We're going to bring him along just in case. Just in case. We really need to hear something he says. I know he told us not to go, but we're going to grab him and take him along anyway. And that remnant that's got Jeremiah and Baruch with them, they settle in Tapanhes is the way I'm going to pronounce it. Another name for it is Daphne. That's a little bit easier to pronounce. What strikes you about where they settle? You think of that area there. What else happened in that area?
That's where the Israelites went to when they left.
Yeah.
Originally.
Yeah, we're talking about, I don't know if it's in or just right near the land of Goshen. What happened in the land of Goshen?
That's where the Israelites were
That's where they were what?
in captivity.
Enslaved, yeah. Yeah. That's where the Israelites were building these pyramids and all of these monuments for Pharaoh, right? And I don't know for sure. And I'm not even quite sure that Tapanhes is in Goshen, but I know it's in that area, right in that area from what I can tell on the maps. But it's possible that the Jews, as they're coming from Judah and staying in Tapanhes, that they can actually see the pyramids that their ancestors built. Can you imagine this? They're going to go to Egypt and stay. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So how do you think they felt as they settled in Egypt here?
That's where they were enslaved.
That's where they were enslaved. But maybe they felt, do you think they felt maybe we gotten away from it now? Come in. That's not here to open the door for you. You want to early?
I knew I tried.
So they've left. They've left the land of Judah where there's war going on. And you think they felt like, okay, we're safe now. We're all the way to Egypt. We put enough distance between us and Babylon that we're safe. Who's that remind you of? Jonah, maybe? Yeah. God says, do this, and Jonah says, if I put enough distance between me and God, between me and where God's told me to go, then I'm going to be all right. Because we know what happened to Jonah. He got to be fish bait for 3 days. And so the people of Israel, they're feeling pretty good. Here we are in Tapanhes, and I know, our ancestors built these huge things here, but maybe that's just a tribute to the stability that Egypt has. Maybe things are going to, and surely, if Babylon went all this way to attack us, surely Egypt on their home court is going to be win, because doesn't everybody win on their home court? They're home. Egypt's going to protect that home ground. Surely we're going to be safe and secure here in Egypt, right? Well, they couldn't have been more wrong, could they? And some people seem to think that, well, okay, God's word changes according to our circumstances, according to where we go. There's a lot of discussion these days about whether the Constitution is a fluid document. You hear that word, maybe whether it's to change with the times. And some people think that it's the same way the Bible. We're in a different culture. That means it doesn't apply in our culture in the way it applied in that culture. God's fixing to tell them. God's fixing to tell them. that he doesn't change his mind just because because a moving van has brought them elsewhere. And so in chapter 43, starting at verse 8, he tells Jeremiah to bury some stones in the clay, or some translations use the word mortar, in Egypt, and to tell how Nebuchadnezzar is going to come and he's going to set his throne up upon those stones. In verses 11 through 13, he will come and attack Egypt, bringing death to those destined for death, captivity to those destined for captivity, and the sword to those destined for the sword. He will set fire to the temples of the gods of Egypt. He will burn their temples and make their gods captive. And I know you like this next verse. As the shepherd picks his garment clean of lice, so he will pick Egypt clean and depart. There in the temple of the sun in Egypt, he will demolish the sacred pillars and will burn down the temples of the gods of Egypt. If you're going to bring pain upon yourself, God says, you know, my message hasn't changed. In fact, what's going to happen in Egypt is simply going to mirror what happened in Judah. What's happened to Israel. I'm going to bring death, captivity, and the sword. And the palaces and the temples, they're going to be burned to the ground. And then he has this verse about the lice. Anybody dealt with lice on a personal basis? With your kids or anything?
When I was a child,
When you were a child?
I stayed with my grandmother.
Yeah.
My dad had to help my grandmother.
Okay. What's your dealing with lice?
My daughter, when she was pretty young, somebody in her class had lice and she got it. And we had to treat her. It's difficult to get rid of.
Yeah. Teachers, you dealt with lice some? No?
My grandchildren, they got curly hair, and they had lice, and so James had to get lice, and we got it from school. So it's pretty
So
messy stuff.
to get out the lice, did you thoroughly examine through that hair and
Yeah.
you're picking out, you know?
I tried to treat it with the things that they told me
Yeah.
to treat it
I
with.
mean, we got the shampoos and that type of thing now to
Yeah.
treat lice. You want to add anything from a medical standpoint on that, Doc?
We had a nurse in recovery who was expert in finding lice in children when they would come to surgery.
So what does this verse mean? What's the meaning behind the verse? As a shepherd picks his garment clean of lice, he will pick Egypt clean of his heart.
You can't run from God.
Pardon?
You can't run from God.
You can't run from God. God's going to be pretty thorough, isn't he? When you go picking lice, you're going to make sure you get all the lice.
Jess, you said that in the Bible, what it says? How does it say that? Shepherd wraps the garments around him, so when he went each of the one he saw would depart from the unstretched.
Sorry, I couldn't hear it. Just read it again.
Okay, it says, are you reading, 43, 12?
No, this is 43. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, 12.
Yeah.
It's Burma.
Oh, it says Burma. Oh, okay.
Why does it say that?
Doesn't say lice, it says, okay. It fits anyway. It fits anyway. God's going to thoroughly clean. When you get rid of lice or vermin or whatever, you're going to make sure you get it all. For one thing, you don't want that lice jumping from this child to the next child. Moving from one end. You want to thoroughly destroy it here.
Sounds like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, exactly. Total destruction there. This is the opposite of what God wanted, by the way. God wanted something where the Israelites, where his children would influence the next nation for good, would turn them to God. He didn't want to be having to pick out the idols and all from out of them, so it wouldn't